Hey everybody, this is Matt from the Home for Wayward Records coming to you on a Monday afternoon. I just wanted to swing by and talk about a few things. I still have some stuff that hasn't come in yet, so I'm not going to do a new arrivals video today. I'm going to save that. Things got kind of caught up in the mail, so I've got a few that are still out there. We got some cool stuff coming in, including some Sub Pop stuff that seems like it shipped pretty early. I'm pretty excited about that. But I did want to come by and talk about book I finished this weekend. If you haven't figured out by now, I read a ton of music books and have a ton of music books. And this is the most recent one. This is Sellout by Ozzi. And it's subtitled The Major Label Feeding Frenzy That Swept Punk, Emo, and Hardcore 1994 to 2007. And basically it runs through, it kind of draws a line from Green Day to Against Me. And it while it focuses on some certain albums, some of the band's other catalogs get involved too. And there's some good stuff in it. There's a lot of familiarity between them. With Green Day, we start off with Rob Cavallo, and he comes up and produces multiple things, and Mark Trombino and Craig Aronson and Larry Livermore. A lot of people that you see over and over again through these, and some direct lines that are drawn. And as you would expect, there are your typical label shenanigans in here. There's some, whining and dining and free CDs and lies and trying to take these bands from smaller labels and defeat each other in the process. It's a lot. And, I decided long ago, I think the thing is, having been in a band and having known people in bands struggle, and a lot of them, especially early on, have absolutely zero money, and they do it out of love. And I don't want to see any band I like get screwed over by a label, but I also do not begrudge anyone for making a living off of doing something they love. So I've never been a sellout guy. If you feel that that's the best move for you and your family, and it's going to provide you a stable life, and you think you can pull it off, more power to you. Like I said, I'm not going to begrudge anybody making a living off their art. I don't think anybody should either. But there's some good stuff in here. So as you can see, I'm going to kind of flip it over to know how much you can read it. There's the albums listed in here. But I wanted to talk about a few of them, and I have all of them but two. I think that's right. I know I do not have a copy of Jimmy Eat World Static Prevails. I have some of their other stuff, but not that one. And yeah, I have almost everything else, I think. Oh, Donna's Spend the Night. Everything else I do have in there. So I have 9 of the 11 mentioned in here. But it starts off with, of course, Green Day Dookie, which in 94, didn't exactly blow up out of the gate, but blew up a little while afterwards and became huge, and Green Day kind of became a thing. And, you have to remember, if you weren't around for it, or you're really, really young, the whole grunge and Nirvana thing is already kind of broke. So the music industry has already been kind of kicked in the junk once and had to kind of play catch up and move on to a different style. But, so this was kind of the next thing up was that punk and pop punk that would spring up. So Green Day, I had a friend that gave me a copy of Kerplunk when we were in college, and I really liked it, and I was a punk rock kid from the 80s anyway, so I just went in a straight line through, like Epitaph and things like that. So I enjoyed this album. I didn't care that they were big. I mean, it did get to where you heard it absolutely all the time, and that got a little nuts, but Green Day Dookie is the first one in here, and that kind of sets the stage for a lot of other stuff that comes up. And there's some stuff in here that for every tale of a Green Day that made it, there are the bands that for whatever reason, it didn't get quite as big. Obviously, Jawbreaker, Dear You, and I find this one to be the most hilarious one, because opinions of it are so different now than when it came out. Because when it came out, and it's addressed in the book, I mean, people just crapped on them for this record. And, I'm 24-Hour Revenge Therapy is one of my probably top 5 albums in the world. If you told me I could save 5 records out of here, that would be one of my 5 that I would grab. I love it that much. And I felt this was a little different, but I still thought it was a really good record. I didn't know why everybody absolutely lost their junk over it. It's different in some ways, yes, absolutely, but it's still a really good record. So, you know, this is the next one in the book, and it kind of goes into, obviously, you know, the internal struggle within Jawbreaker is well known at this point, and they would implode right after this one. And then now they come back and play live, you know, and it's a little different. I don't know if they're, you know, where we will go from there, but Jawbreaker Dear You is a great record. And I do, you know, there's the punk rock vinyl page on Instagram. They did the, you know, they have the vote off the college brackets basically for bands' albums. And Dear You won, and it kind of blew my mind because I laughed because so many people treated this album like crap for so long, and now to see people like it just kind of makes me laugh because it's the same record. It was always that good. You just sucked, not the record. So cool. Jawbreaker Dear You. At the Drive-In, Relationship of Command. This record is like peeling your skull back and pouring hot sauce in it, and then sticking toothpicks all in it. This record is absolutely amazing. It's like a hurricane of knives. It's just great, and you know, the book really goes into you know, kind of the issues that, you know, they had with fame as this was going, and you know, I had totally forgotten. It goes back to the Big Day Out festival, and you know, where they only play like 3 songs and then they leave because the crowd's kind of nuts. And they talked about how the band just exploded into the first song. I had to go back and watch, and holy balls, that is, yeah, it's amazing to remember how good these guys were. I was in Texas, so they were around, and this was a very, very big thing for them to have come out of El Paso, because if you know of Texas or you live in Texas, not a lot comes out of El Paso. It's so far away. It feels like, you know, you have Dallas and Houston and San Antonio and Austin, and then El Paso is way over there, and it feels like it's kind of left out. So At the Drive-In, Relationship of Command was huge. There's a lot of stuff with how this gets signed and where it moves to, and it ends up being on Grand Royal, and then Grand Royal kind of implodes. The story in there is kind of nuts, and you know, we would end up with the Mars Volta out of this, and Sparta, and I liked both, and then Mars Volta got weirder and weirder and weirder as it went. And if you haven't heard, they have a new album coming out. The pre-orders are up now. It comes out in September. We'll see how that is. But At the Drive-In is probably, you know, there's some great records in this book, but this one is almost comes from like a different place mind-wise. And I think if you haven't checked this out or you don't already love this record, I don't know what you're waiting for. It's fantastic. It skips ahead a little bit then. So, you know, I've moved past some. There's the Distillers and a lot of it Thursday and Jimmy Eat World and some other stuff in here. And then it gets to Rise Against, and this is Siren Song of the Counterculture. And I will tell you, the Unraveling, the first Rise Against record, when I heard that, I was immediately in love with that band. And then Revolutions Per Minute, their second record, is absolutely freaking ridiculously good. I mean, it is a strong 90s, is it 90s? I'm old. 90s punk rock record. I think it's a 90s. It is a 90s. My brain's not working. This album is from 2004. I could be wrong. It could be a 2000s punk rock record, and I'm not even sure. It's back over there, and I won't go get it now. Siren Songs of the Counterculture was them moving from Fat, sorry, brain freeze, Fat to a major label. This is actually on Geffen. And you know, honestly, other than Swing Life Away, which, you know, Swing Life Away had already been out on a punk sampler before, I mean, this stayed with the formula they already have. There's nothing different about this record than there is Revolutions Per Minute or The Unraveling. And it's a fantastic record. It really goes into, you know, this one is kind of a one of the hard work leads to success stories in the book, and I think that's a great thing about this record. These guys just, you know, toured their ass off and played with as many bands as they could, and did things the kind of right way, and they became big for that. And, you know, especially the first 5 records, I love, and they're fantastic. And Siren Songs of the Counterculture is also really, really great. And then the last record in the book is Against Me, New Wave. And, you know, I hopefully if you're watching this, number one, you've heard this record. It is a great record. You know, I like all of Laura Jane Grace's stuff. I like her solo work and Devouring Mothers and the Against Me records. And this one is a favorite of mine. You know, it's kind of pretty well known, the stuff that they went through. They had some people in the punk rock community, you know, and they had, you know, folk punk and had kind of done everything and Will Never Sign or whatever else. And, you know, you had people, you know, flattening tires on their van and spray painting it. You had people writing terrible, terrible things about them. And that's all garbage. I mean, people that are that small-minded about their scene should probably, you know, grow up just a little bit. It's, you know, these bands belong to them. If they want to do something different, they can. And people treated them terribly. And this is a really good record. I think all of their albums are really, really good. It goes into especially how this one ended up on, this one in White Crosses, you know, how they went from Fat onto a major and then cut the two, and how, you know, they ended up off the major, and how that kind of stuff goes. But it's a really good record to check out too. So that is Dan Ozzi's Sellout. Again, I think it's a really good book. I liked his book he co-authored with Laura Jane Grace. So I was pretty into checking this one out, and I do like it. And like I said, it covers a little bit of all angles. You have the bands that signed and it didn't quite pan out after a giant size, you know, kind of, these guys are going to be huge and it doesn't work out. We have bands where, you know, they just worked hard, and, you know, Jimmy Eat World, when they got signed and put out the 2 records on Capitol, I mean, they had really never even toured much outside of Arizona. That was really it. And they just worked really hard and wrote really good songs and kind of became who they were. And so yeah, check it out. It, you know, it name drops a lot of bands that you probably know and love, and it's definitely worth a read. And it's actually kind of funny to see how many of these bands are connected through time, not just from the AR people they're dealing with, but also just them themselves. The lead singer for Thursday ends up connected to like half the bands in this book in various ways. So check it out, Sellout by Dan Ozzi. Hope you like those records. Yeah, I go back to work Wednesday, so I will try to make one of these, my next video. I'll try maybe Wednesday night and get it posted. We'll see how it goes. Hope you're still enjoying everything. Have a good week, and I'll talk to you soon.